Deadly day in the life of the United States.
There is no place a person can go to be safe from street crime.
Victims of random violence, from Michael Jordan's father to the people down the street.
They'd kill you for a nickel. They'd kill you just for fun.
Armed and dangerous, America battles a fatal epidemic.
Good evening. I'm Vicki Liviakis, and this is Front Page. It could have been any one of us. Those are the words of a North Carolina cop talking about the death of basketball superstar Michael Jordan's father, shot and killed in a highway robbery. James Jordan's death was an American tragedy, but it was not an isolated incident. Armed robbery happens 700,000 times a year, nearly 2,000 times a day. More and more often, it ends in death. Front Page has been investigating the alarming increase in armed robbery and the cases of some other Americans forced to look down the barrel of a gun the same July weekend that James Jordan died. Cops figure that James Jordan was gunned down in a nickel-and-dime robbery that went sour. It was 2:30 a.m. Friday the 23rd of July. About the same time, Houston, Texas, Bill Marshall answers his door and is shot and killed by a robber. Stolen? Marshall's small collection of musical instruments.
One consolation we have is his music. We have a lot of his music on tape that we'll be able to share with other people and enjoy ourselves. I'm not doing too good right now.
An hour later, Dallas, reporter Victor Juarez is being held up by two men who jump into his car.
They pushed me to the floor and put a knife in my throat.
After that, in the small farm town of Plant City, Florida, gunmen hold up this Chinese restaurant. One waitress is shot in the throat, but lives. A customer, Rudy Dami, is shot in the back and dies.
As I was there with Mr. Dami, I felt so helpless. I couldn't do anything. And I thought, why? Why?
Sitting next to Dami as he is shot is his wife, Debbie.
To me, it was just unbelievable, just stupid, very senseless.
$60. That's what they got.
A short time later, across the country in Oakland, California, another man, another gun. A clerk at a 7-Eleven gets a gun stuck in his face. The gunman cleans out the cash register and escapes. Just another stick-up. It doesn't even make the papers. All told, the weekend James Jordan died, there were 6,000 armed robberies across the country. It's relentless, happening once every 49 seconds. The 211 calls, that's police code for robbery, come as often from the suburbs as from the cities. The criminals are younger and more violent. Here's just one evening in the life of one cop, Todd Simonson of the Oakland Police Department.
24, copy, number 1, male black, mid-20s, 5'4", 150 to 60, black hair. Number 2, male black.
When you're 211 armed, you go out, it's about as top priorities you can get, those and shootings. And when you hear one go out, you get over there as quickly as possible.
Loss was greater than $200, and they fled westbound from the scene on Bancroft Avenue.
He pulled out the gun.
He stood there.
What did he say?
The money. Give up the money or they'll shoot.
Okay.
That's it.
Do you think you'd recognize the guy in the blue coat a little bit, possibly?
I doubt it. I wouldn't.
If nobody knows who they are and they get away before we get there, if we don't see them actually running out of the store, it's hard.
Passengers in custody. He was holding the pistol.
But sometimes the cops get lucky. On this shift, Simonson backs up another patrol car that's caught a robbery suspect during a traffic stop.
Well, I walked up right about to his rear bumper, and I noticed that he had a pistol in his left hand, and he was facing me kind of like this, so I really couldn't see it. When I got about there, I saw the pistol, and I really didn't have time to draw my weapon, so I just immediately rushed him and tackled him.
The gun's been used in several 211s. They have the ski mask, so could be good possibilities here.
I've only been out here, this is my 4th week now, and I don't know, we've probably got about 8 guns since I've been out here.
With a long barrel gun, possibly a MAC-10.
There's a few businesses in Oakland that get hit time after time after time. This Video Dimensions place that just got robbed has been hit a few times.
They just came in, and I just stared at him, watched him come in, and he said to sit down, and I just kind of squatted a little bit, put the gun behind Chuck's head.
They put it right to his head?
Put it right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had the gun in the back of my head, so I was just a little nervous.
We're on at 977.
What kind of guns were they carrying?
I think it was
They were both carrying?
No, just one.
Just one?
The other guy, not the guy with the gun, the other guy went behind me and her and into the back, grabbed the money, and then cut out. Lord's right here. They just got robbed 4 nights ago, and I just heard today that Rhoda Market, right down the street there, got robbed a couple days ago for $40.
Across the bay from Oakland is San Francisco. Cops there have seen a sudden jump in armed robberies over the last couple of weeks. Random violence can strike anyone, anytime, anywhere. San Francisco is normally a haven for tourists. Tourists who are now becoming prime targets.
More and more we're seeing cases where persons are giving their money and still being assaulted.
This is a safe area.
This is probably one of the safest, nicest areas of San Francisco.
I don't understand. I mean, how can this happen here?
I think it happens anywhere at any time now. We're having a tremendous upsurge of violence, not just in San Francisco, but across the nation.
That's the same trend cops are seeing in Miami, where tourists are also a robber's favorite mark.
See, that's rule number 1
I don't think so.
of traveling in Miami is don't carry nothing you can't replace.
Good advice. Miami has one of the highest armed robbery rates in the nation.
This is the street where Barbara Jensen, the German tourist, was killed.
Edna Buchanan is an author and Pulitzer Prize-winning Miami crime reporter.
Recently, a man driving in traffic was shot in the face when he stopped for a traffic light and someone came up to steal his Rolex watch. They shot him in the face to take his watch.
Buchanan has covered over 3,000 homicides in Miami.
Yeah, this is the bank where the beautician who'd worked all day came by. 2 robbers accosted her at gunpoint. She gave them the money. The 19-year-old was so furious that it was only $15 that he screamed, kill the bitch, shoot her, and the 17-year-old shot her.
Buchanan has seen in Miami what cops are seeing all across the country, that the most vicious robbers are usually the youngest.
They would kill you for a Coke. They'd kill you for a nickel. They'd kill you just for fun. Sometimes they do these robberies where they come in shooting, and they get so thrilled by the shooting and the excitement that they forget to take the money.
In the last few years, the number of teenagers arrested for armed robbery has increased by 50%. The suspects in the Jordan case are 18. The suspects in the Dahme shooting in Plant City, Florida are 14 and 17.
Younger criminals tend to be more violent than older criminals. They tend to shoot more at robberies. They tend to be more physically violent in their purse snatchings. They don't avoid confrontation like older criminals do.
And these juveniles laugh at the system. It's a joke because our juvenile system does not work. The juvenile system was set up in the 50s for people who played hooky from school and stole hubcaps. Now they're robbers and rapists and murderers, and they're handled like children by the system.
Joseph McNamara is a former police chief. He now researches criminal behavior at Stanford University.
It's very scary. There are a group of kids that we refer to as the lost generation. Kids who at 17 and 18 are going out shopping for their own coffins, thinking they're already dead. They have no regard for human life.
So you call them the lost generation. What do? Just write them off?
No, I don't think you can write them off, but I think you have to be pretty hard-nosed about it. If someone hurts someone else with a firearm, they should be locked up for a long time. And if they do it again, they should be locked up for life.
But if they're not locked up, is there any protection from thugs with guns? This man spent 10 years in prison for armed robbery. His advice?
Somebody's walking up to me, I'm watching his hands. You know, I'm watching his hands more than his face because that's where a weapon's going to come from.
The best thing to do is do exactly what he says and nothing else.
When you pull up behind a car, give yourself plenty of room to be able to take off in any direction.
One of the best anti-surveillance techniques is a U-turn.
If you're going somewhere at night and you're in a bad area or just at night period, hide your jewelry.
There are so many cases I covered over the years where if people had only had a weapon in the house, they could have survived.
Personally, I don't think that's a good idea. Guns can be used against you. You're more likely, if you're carrying a gun or you keep a gun in your home, that it will be used against you if you become the victim of a crime.
Here's this guy that's sick on drugs or whatever the case may be. He needs money, and you're like a walking bank to him.
You know, another important thing, too, about the case of Michael Jordan's father is that it wasn't in the big city. It was in a rural area where he evidently felt safe stopping to rest. So, again, the moral of the story is that there's no place safe anymore.
Where do armed robberies happen most often? Over half take place on the street or highway, 22% in banks or businesses, and only 11% in homes. And despite what you might think, almost half of all robberies take place in broad daylight.